Comrades, thank you for inviting me to speak at the conference today. It is a privilege to speak to a gathering of all the staff supporters and people that are obviously hungry for change. The welfare state, our welfare state. Beveridge was set the task in 1942 to discover what kind of Britain people wanted to see after the war. And it was obvious. People wanted to see a socially just and fair Britain, where the state cared for and valued its citizens, their talents, their strengths, and stepped in to protect them from harm when unemployment or illness came their way. A compassionate Britain, a compassionate government. Beveridge declared there were 5 giants on the road to reconstruction: poverty, disease, ignorance, squalor, and idleness. To defeat these giants, he proposed setting up a welfare state, giving people social security, a national health service, free education, council housing, and full employment. The Labour Party, under the leadership of the great Clement Attlee, did just that. An extraordinary piece of social vision became reality for the people of Britain. The greatest piece of social justice ever given to the citizens of these shores. Fast forward to today. Ian Duncan Smith says, cuts to housing benefit are fair, the bedroom tax or his spare room subsidy is fair, tax cuts for millionaires is fair, terminally ill people and the disabled waiting months to either receive or appeal for disability benefits is fair. Sanctioning those on job seekers allowance for pernicious reasons is fair. As a passionate campaigner for social justice, I say to you, do you think it's fair? Because I say no, no, no. The welfare state was not set up to punish people, the most vulnerable in society. It was not set up to hound disabled people and carers out of council homes by imposing the huge and cruel bedroom tax. The welfare state was never designed to punish the unemployed for turning up to the job centre interviews on the wrong day simply because the DWP computer made an error. The late, great Tony Benn said, I think there are 2 ways in which people are controlled. First of all, frighten people, and secondly, demoralise them. This is exactly what this content government have done. Instead of putting the blame squarely at the feet of this eaten mess of a cabinet, stuffed full of posh rich boys and their mates, the hedge fund bankers, Cameron, ably abetted by the Judas party of Lib Dems, have frightened people into believing austerity is the amount of immigrants coming into the country, taking British jobs. The rise of the far right, UKIP, are hitting that message home quite thoroughly too. Osborne rants about hard-working people, going out to work while their neighbours' curtains are drawn, not even stopping to think that that neighbour may be a night shift worker at a hospital or a late-night bus driver. They peddle the politics of fear to the working class to take the heat off their own rich, tax-avoiding backs. The very word welfare has been seized, turned round, demonised and claimed by the Tories and their American Tea Party cousins as now meaning handouts to scroungers. So what can we do? Firstly, the Labour Party, in conjunction with unions and all of us campaigners like myself and community activists on the left, must reclaim welfare by using the Attlee term social security. Security and a safety net so that the unemployed are helped, yes, helped back into work or to find that first job. The sick and disabled are given disability payments as a socially just society protects and defends its most vulnerable citizens. That is the bottom line, full stop. Rent controls. So greedy buy-to-let landlords can't easily hike rents up to unmanageable levels, thus leaving people needing huge increases in housing benefit. Carers are rewarded financially actually, by setting the bar for carers allowance considerably higher than the derisory £61 per week currently. Even Cameron acknowledges carers save this country millions of pounds in care costs every year. A basic level of a citizen's income to protect people from the extremes of poverty. Women are not forced back into work in fear of being demoted or thought less of for taking full maternity leave. And a recognition that single parents and parents of disabled children need extra childcare support should they find work. There are many more social security issues that I will focus more on shortly. The key theme to campaigning for a socially just welfare system is to oppose the implementation of the current system based on punishment. Punishment for being poor, punishment for losing a job or being made redundant, punishment for being ill, punishment for being disabled, punishment for being female. We need to move to campaign en masse for the following to ensure a fair and just welfare system. The repeal of the bedroom tax and the benefit cap. The bedroom tax was devised to punish those who cannot afford to buy their own house. It is one of the most pernicious, cruel policies this government has devised for people in council houses. Not just houses, but homes. A tax on couples when one is disabled and needs an extra bedroom for a carer or to store equipment. A tax on families with a disabled child who cannot share a room with other brothers and sisters. An unbelievable and costly yo-yo tax, where the silly age limit to the sex of your children 1 year, you may need the 3 bedrooms according to the DWP. The following year, as your children are older, their age dictates the need for another bedroom. Moving people out of council houses that have been their homes for decades, where they have brought up their families, tended gardens, even scattered the ashes of their loved ones under rose bushes, is just an action of a cruel, uncaring, insensitive, bully boy government. At the benefit cap, the coalition has been masterful in getting out the message. The cap set at 26,000 is literally being received in cash sums by families. We know the reality is that probably 20,000 of that amount goes to the buy-to-let landlord via housing benefit. We must urgently campaign to change that narrative. Informing people at work, in our communities, our parties, our unions and through social media that the benefit cap is not money coming into a household, but money being used to subsidise wealthy landlords who can charge whatever they want in rent prices. In London, we are seeing the poor being socially cleansed from the capital. The benefit cap has forced people to move to other areas, often hundreds of miles from the city and communities they have grown up in, and the schools, relatives and support networks they need. Do you know, comrades, 93% of new housing benefit claims are from people in work. Work is simply not enough to pay the rent. The benefit cap is another policy designed purely to punish. I call for its and the bedroom tax's abolition. We desperately, urgently need a Labour Party once elected into government to commit to a mass council house building scheme, but a bold, innovative scheme in my opinion. Council housing has been reduced to ghettos in many areas where we dump the unemployed and the poor and leave them to rot. Often surrounded by a harsh environment, poor quality housing, failing schools, this government basically says, that's your lot in life, expect no more. I say let's plan for bold council housing schemes built for a variety of people side by side. In Norris Green in Liverpool, one of the country's toughest estates where I lived for 10 years, old concrete homes with outside toilets have now been replaced with bungalows for the elderly and disabled, who were then joined to a small block of ground, first and second floor flats, who are connected to a 3-bed semi, who face opposite a 5-bed house. Young, old, disabled, unemployed and employed, low-paid workers exist in a well-planned community with gardens and green spaces and play areas. Utopia? It can be done. Attlee did it, Labour should plan for it, we should campaign for it. A mass council house building scheme will provide a huge number of quality jobs in the construction industry, making new accredited apprenticeships for young people, passing down building and construction skills to a new generation of workers, giving stable employment to skilled men and women. Time and again, experts have told Osborne to build his way out of austerity. He refuses to listen, even for private houses. The Labour Party must listen. It would be foolhardy not to. There is a need to campaign for the abolition or complete radical overhaul of the work capability assessment and assessments for disability and the new personal independence PIP payments done by profit-making private companies taking sweetness from our government to hound our own people. The work capability assessment for the sick and disabled is literally killing people. Until recently, firms like the disgraceful Atos were processing people and finding them fit for work with the most complex of medical conditions. Even patients in comas were being sent letters finding them fit for work. Absolutely unbelievable. But it is happening in Tory Britain under Ian Duncan Smith. People on employment and support allowance are waiting months, even years, to be assessed. In a majority of cases, they are being assessed, and if found not fit for work currently, they are placed in a support group. They then get another letter a week or two after the initial assessment, giving them another date, often in the same month, to come back and be reassessed again. The stress and the continual proverbial axe being held over people's heads, never mind the cost of the whole pointless exercise, is making people sicker. That is the irony of the situation. If you are found fit to work, which is often the case, and you have the temerity to appeal the decision maker, you are stopped your employment and support allowance and placed on the very basic job seekers allowance, while the appeal takes a year plus to be heard. On attending the job centre, clients are told they are too sick to be available for work, which is one of the conditions under which you must be available to work to seek employment in the first place. So then they take you off job seekers allowance and you're left to the mercy of the local food bank. And horrific current 72% of employment support allowance cases are in limbo, waiting to be assessed or an appeal heard. Cameron is now parading the idea that in an effort to cut down the backlog of appeals, which are nearly 50% successful anyway, after 2015 he is going to charge people to appeal. The Tory final solution, perhaps? The work capability assessment needs abolishing or radically overhauling, to be fair. Couple this with the new assessments for disability benefit, and I have a radical solution. Let's fund our GP practices. GPs know their patients' capabilities. Let's put our trust in GPs who have a detailed knowledge of a patient's medical history, not a faceless corporate profit-making giant like Atos or Capita. For disabled people, the sheer terror of the letters summoning them to assessment centres, many of whom are not even accessible for disabled people, is a cause for huge stress and worry. Fund our GPs, not these private companies, and disability assessments and fitness for work can be carried out with dignity and assurance that every effort has been made to come to a correct, knowledgeable decision. Remember, as a civilised society, a just country and government protect its most vulnerable. That's the bottom line we should be campaigning for. This leads me on to another key issue to campaign for in a quest for a just welfare system. A financial recognition for carers, with a GP assessing both a disabled person but also assessing carers and carers' needs, like respite breaks, etc., looked at in conjunction with social services. A holistic approach and one lauded by Andy Burnham. As I said previously, Cameron acknowledges the massive amount of money carers save his government every year, but what does he do about it? Nothing. £61 a week is an affront to the damned hard work carried out by carers 24/7, 365 days a year, with no let-up and little local authority support due to the savage cuts inflicted by the condemned.